2, 3. Welcome to Simon from the UK, and hello from Andrew from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Hopefully, tomorrow our government is going to give me the okay to go back to work on Thursday.
Do you think so?
Well, it's going to be in a limited capacity. We're going to be at level 3, which would mean no face-to-face contact with clients, but it would at least give me an opportunity to get out of the house and do something.
So what? How would people interact with you? They ring you, would they? And come pick stuff up or something, or put it outside?
I can use couriers. I can use couriers, with some of the product that we sell. Getting stuff out there.
Also, so a tool version of Amazon.
Yeah,
mind you.
Yeah.
If I tell you you can buy an anvil on Amazon, can you imagine A, delivering that, B, getting it delivered to your house? This bloody great metal anvil. What do? Get the whole family out to move it.
You can get anything delivered to your house these days, Simon, can't you?
Yeah, you have to be careful though.
Hey, I just want to just pass on an observation of a show that we watch. And again, this has not been critical at all because, it's not the spirit of what we are, Simon. We're not critical guys.
No.
But I think sometimes, you've got to talk about a couple of things, but I won't make any mention of what I heard. But it's interesting how, and I suppose the reason why I'm mentioning this to you live on air for anybody who comes and watches any of these repeats, just to qualify the fact of what Simon and I want our show to be, or where I think our show is going, is it's just about some guys hanging out with some people. And Simon and I talk regularly off air about the fact that Simon's just having a chat with a guy down the pub, but we're half a world away, and there's no beer, And we've mentioned this before, haven't we? That our social media friends are important to us as individuals, and as and what we're trying to do here. And it was only
and we view as a community, don't we? We view as a community. People,
and it was only ever about sharing information. It was only ever about what people thought about something that mattered to us. But it's interesting because I watched the start of a show today, and they were giving one of the co-hosts a little bit of shit because he said that he tried desperately not to be a fanboy when they had a special guest on.
Oh, right,
and a couple of the other co-hosts decided to give this other co-host a bit of shit by saying, well, that's just the nature of our show. We're going to have famous people on our show because of what we are, and what we're doing. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. Do you remember the saying, Dave?
The danger of fame.
God likes a trier or something like that, Or
God loves a trier. Yeah, the old saying. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Just from my point of view, I suppose what I'm trying to say, Simon, is that I'm always going to be a fanboy. If Keith Richards decides to jump on the show, you meet him somewhere in the UK and he says, "You fucking hang out with that guy Andrew, don't you?" And you say, "Yeah. Do you want to join our show?" I'm going to sit here for an hour trying not to be a fanboy. You bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that I've met one or two well-known. I mean, John Paul Jones has been round my house.
That's right. He had a show on that. He taught you how to play a couple of riffs.
Black Dog, yeah. But
and that's the only reason why you're on the show, Simon, because you know John Paul Jones.
I can hope so too. Yes, by associate, you're only on it by association with slightly famous people. It's not going to work very well, is it? This, but you know what? I mean, for me, it's of course, I'm a fanboy. I've loved Led Zeppelin since I was 13. You can't get over the fact, that he is the bass player of one of my favorite bands of all time. My favorite thing. You will never have too much Led Zeppelin. As I'll buy another copy of Physical Graffiti. I've got about 4 versions of it, but you have to get. I think you have to get past it. You have to get past the myth. And get into the man. Unfortunately, my dad was very good at that stuff. I mean, because he had some, not the same at all, but some idea. He worked in that business, so he had music. As a musician, as an ideas man, so you kind of got past the fame bit quite quickly and got into what people are actually like.
Yeah.
Because they're not on the record. They're not on, they're not in the papers. They're not in the, on the TV, on the media, or anything like that. Therefore, they can be themselves. They can be true to them. They can, we could talk about stuff. Here. Be funny.
Greatvanzinni, are you ready to jump on for me to send you the link?
Yeah, Keith Richards here. Good one. You better get Keith on then. See what he's got to say for himself.
Yeah.
Oh, I scratched my back.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's funny.
Better get him on, all right.
Hi, Arvin. How you doing? Hope you're good too. Staying safe and well. And before I come on, I was watching all those all the people protesting against the lockdown in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah, literally cross states. That I mean. We've got to be big out of the sun, but
wow.
I think that it's the American thing of life and liberty and the Constitution. Oh, we demand the right to go to work and kind of we do, and Good morning, Sonia. How you doing? Hope you're good, safe and well.
Hey, Sonia. Well, the thing is, for us tomorrow, we might. We've got a 50% chance, Simon, of still staying in lockdown. It's not certain at 4 p.m. tomorrow that we're going to go to level 3.
No, I mean, there's talk of it here. There's a bit of cabinet talk. The government cabinet talk of.
I did see something this afternoon though of some people in Florida.
Yeah, that's it. They're going to the beach. Thousands of people going to the beach. I know.
And I'm going, are you guys crazy? Greatvanzinni, I've sent the link.
It, it just feels like, and there's, I saw some pictures of all these people on the side of the road going, we demand the right to. It's like, do you demand the right to kill yourselves and everybody around you? Is kind of that's a bit extreme, by the way, but is my kind of extreme reaction to that, because I feel like we didn't do the right things. First of all, we spent 4 weeks faffing about, not getting kit together, not getting tests together, not getting a testing regime together. We wasted the whole of February not doing that. Basically quite a lot of this, put your fingers in your ear and sing la la, and hopefully it'll go away. Of course, it hasn't gone away. It hasn't gone away viciously. It's just it's not, and I've seen a lot of arguments. Well, it's not that many more than people get the flu and blah blah blah.
Oh, look, I was a little bit skeptical up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Done a little bit of research like everybody else. I'm not an expert on the subject, Simon, but I think you need to be careful. And here he is. Here he is. Drum roll, everybody. Drum roll. Ta-da!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Keith Richards.
I was just trying.
I saw you playing earlier today. You were playing guitar from your house.
I was
Did you guys see that?
No, what was on Sonia's channel?
No. Keith Richards, the Rolling Stone, they were doing this kind of gigging from home thing, weren't they, with Lady Gaga and
Yeah.
Oh, I saw just a smidgen of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they were singing Wild Horses, and Mick was from his house. Charlie was playing some pots and pans, Keith, and
He didn't have a drum kit at home. Charlie
yeah,
Watts not got a drum kit at home.
yeah, he doesn't have a drum kit
Fantastic.
at home. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
One of the world's greatest drummers in the world.
Shirley's banned them. You're not having that in the house. See, at heart, we just said, no, for all his fame and fortune, Charlie Watts is just like the rest of us. His wife is saying, "You can't bring that bloody stuff in the house. Look, it'll clutter it up."
That's right. We'll have none of that here.
How are things in Oregon, Greatvanzinni?
Very good. Very good. We're still all locked down, and no protest here that I've heard of so far.
Maybe only the Sunshine Days. But have you seen it, Greatvanzinni? Am I talking nonsense?
No, it's in some cities in like 3 or 4 states. Was what I was hearing. That was earlier this morning. I don't know what happened today, but yeah, there were some protests going on, and
yeah. And then they've opened up the beaches in Florida. Some of the beaches in Florida, haven't they? I saw quite a lot of people.
So who's organising the protests? Is it just something grassroots, or is it some political party that's behind it?
It's kind of
It's what you call conservative activists.
Yes, yeah.
The National Rifle Association.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a funny story about that, Andrew? When I first started working for the government department I work for now, which is called DEFRA, it was called the National Rivers Authority, the NRA. So in the UK, it was called the NRA. And I can remember phoning up some bloke from Microsoft once and going, "Yeah, I'm from the NRA." And he said, "Oh, what, the National Rifle?" And I, no, not the National Rifle Association. No, the National Rivers Authority. This is a proper UK organisation.
So you guys quickly changed the name. We
went with the Environment Agency after that. So
yeah, we don't want to get tarnished. But look, I don't know. I hope and pray, Greatvanzinni and Sonia, that America gets something sorted, because the news broadcast that we're watching, this coronavirus is devastating. So I don't know what some people in America are watching, because there are fatalities. People in Europe are dying. So if you guys aren't getting that on your news service,
we are. Yeah.
38,000 people have now died in the US.
Yeah, especially in New York. But I mean, even here in little old Oregon, I mean, I have a veterans center about 30 miles from my house, and where it's really struck quite hard. And
wow.
I don't remember the number, but it's a veterans retirement home, and that's where it first showed up in the county. That's the county I retired from, and the county I'm from, just north of it, has had I don't know how many deaths now and how many cases, but and we know we're not getting all the cases. I mean, it's because they're only testing. We're doing very minimal testing here in Oregon, so
far out.
Yeah, and we're in the same boat, Greatvanzinni. We've done, we spent, instead of taking it seriously at the beginning, we spent 4 weeks, February basically, faffing about and not getting anything really together. What it's like. I don't know what it is, but governments are, I know do nothing is always an option, but in this case,
Hi Juan.
Hi Juan, how you doing? That doing something is, seemingly, what you had to be doing. You really had to be getting your equipment, your medical supplies, and your supply chains sorted out in a way, and seeming to me, it seemed to me from quite early on that Vintage Sounds. Good morning, Vintage Sounds.
Hi, Vintage.
Wake up. We're trying. That it seems to me that that we, that testing seemed to be the key. The key thing in all of this is that you test, and you test widely, and you test often, and you test the people who've got it, and you test all the people, so that you then control the spread of it like that. And I think that that's what, it's not me being clever. There's a lot more clever people walking like, that's what they said, and that seemed to be what I believe. as a thing. And I'm, I'm part of the, I work for the government. I'm a civil servant. So,
and I work in healthcare.
And you.
So I started looking at viruses back in '95. I read a book by Laurie Garrett called The Coming Plague that outlined all the possible viruses that are out there. And I said, this is coming sooner or later. This is coming, which is what she said. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Matter of when, yeah.
And in our case, I'm not blaming any one administration because it goes back, I think, to '95, where we just have not prepared adequately. And
wow.
And then I really got serious in 2005. At the age of 53, I caught a similar virus and was in a coma for 21 days and on life support.
Well, so you had a COVID virus, did you?
No, it's called an adenovirus, ADENO virus, which is very similar.
Yeah.
And just kind of caught me off guard and by surprise. And
but didn't have pandemic proportions like we've got now.
No, it didn't. But when I had to go to what they now call rehab, it was a nursing home post-hospital.
Yeah.
I met, I don't know how many other people that said, well, I just got this weird virus and I went into a coma. So it was hitting the Salem area quite heavy. And then when I got back to work down south, at a little town south of me, I found out other people had it also.
Yeah.
And, so
once bitten, twice shy. Now, yes, I've had something similar. I don't want that again. Thanks ever so much.
Yeah.
God, in a coma for 21 days.
Yeah.
Hellfire.
Yeah.
But your medical your hospital could cope with the number of cases. It wasn't done.
Oh yeah, it was very small amount, and they were highly well prepared. Just lucky where I lived, that hospital's rated very highly for such things, and
cool. Well done.
So I got great treatment. So
you mean you work for the health service? You've moved close to a good hospital.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a similar thing. I work for obviously an organisation that deals with floods and flood defences and stuff. So you'll be pleased to know I live on a hill, well away from any flowing water.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, that I can't say. I'm about 5 blocks away from one of our major rivers. That's
careful
so often. So.
Does it come knock on the door? Does it come knock on the door a bit? Yeah. So I can't help feeling that whilst I understand there is a rubbing out of friction between the two things. That you want to keep the country running in some way, whilst not killing everyone off.
Right.
And that's a bit simplistic, but that I think that. That's the really important, for a government has to find its way through that tricky path. Where do you go? And I think, as I say, that for me the key is still testing. It's still testing. If you've had it,
it's hard to find a good answer there. Well, the scary one was
we're
way off. I think we're way off subject, but the scary one was where I just read in Korea where people who had it weeks and weeks ago and recovered have rehab it now, and so that's an interesting.
I think that's kind of
lots of possibilities.
Yeah, it's not clear what's going on there. I've read a bit about that as well. My understanding is that scientifically it's not clear what's going on. Whether people are being reinfected, whether it's coming back, but they didn't kind of fight it off fully or whatever.
Yeah. Didn't have a chance to become fully immune. Yeah.
No, that's right. And they went out and started doing stuff again, and then it sort of came back because obviously it's a virus, so it attacks your immune system. So if your immune system is not looked after, then
I think we have to be careful. We have to be careful of. I'm not being a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but. We have to be careful of some of the news agencies and some of the news sources that we get because, for every 2 or 3 news agencies that say that these people have re-caught it or caught it twice or 3 times, there's a news agency, like I was reading on Sky News Australia, saying that some people apparently in Korea who recaught it didn't catch it. So
Oh, okay, so that was the one I was reading about.
yeah.
So maybe okay. So I haven't read maybe the latest on it. Yeah.
So
No.
so
Why?
so yeah. Look, I don't know the answer either, but I was just saying to Simon before you jumped on, Greatvanzinni, that we'll find out tomorrow whether or not our country goes out of level 4 lockdown and up down to level 3, which means that you can move. There's a limited amount of movement, but you still can't have face-to-face contact. So, but anyway,
Yes.
Anyway,
shall we talk?
to the
shall we-
matter in hand.
Shall we talk about
Yes.
guitars and music and jazz
sounds good.
fusion?
Shall we
And-
ask Keith how his gig went last night?
Yeah. It's interesting, Greatvanzinni, because I was just having a chat to Simon about a show that I watch where a couple of the panelists were going on about how good their show is and how it attracts famous people, and and being a fanboy isn't part of the process if you're on that show, and so you're famous. You're famous for us because you're a jazz fusion musician, and I'm a fanboy.
I'm
The good news
the
is
little
we've got
guy
over
here.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought in one of the earlier chats, I think you were there, Andrew, but I just happened to mention that my friend had played bass with Linda Carter, who had
Yes.
played Wonder Woman, and
Yes.
I was surprised at the reaction. It was
Not part of the Carter
Great
family.
Greatvanzinni says a friend of his played bass with Linda Carter, and I thought that was
So she was a
It was
singer.
amusing.
So she was singing.
like yeah, she was like Miss California in a beauty pageant, or maybe even Miss America, and
Right.
then
Oh,
she
wow.
went to singing in a nightclub
Wow.
with my friend's older brother, and yeah, and and the drummer had just quit right before he came on, and the drummer was Radar O'Reilly from the Gary Berghoff from the MASH TV series.
Really?
I don't know if you've
Right,
seen that.
yeah.
And apparently
Really? He's a drummer.
He's quite a good jazz drummer apparently. So. So Don, my friend, didn't get to ever meet him because he had just quit right before Don came on board. So, yeah.
Everyone knows
So,
Radar.
Wow.
Yeah,
They called him
Yeah.
Radar because he could detect the helicopters coming in.
yeah,
That was one of the best comedies. That was one of the best American comedies, and I got it probably on the 4th or 5th rerun because it's very sophisticated. That comedy, isn't it? It's Alan
Yeah.
Alda and very sophisticated, very
Yeah.
good.
I really loved it. I don't know if it holds up now after all these years, but
No, it still does. I watched the
does it?
rerun about 6 months ago, and it's
Okay.
still timely because there's war still going on.
Sure.
People are
Yeah.
so crazy and stupid, and governments do stupid mental things.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an interest. I had an interest in it because
Not suggesting.
my late oldest brother was in the 601st MASH unit, so we really loved the TV show because it.
Yeah.
So, how realistic was MASH to his experiences?
Well, in his case, he wasn't. He was in the war zone for a while, but during the Vietnam thing. But most of his time was not. It was under more peaceful conditions. But there were surprises, and of course Korea was huge. So
Yeah.
His experience wasn't that big. But he said it was actually quite
right.
like what he experienced in terms of the surgical theater and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
So he said that's
Wow.
kind of what they did, and they could throw it up. They could put that whole MASH unit up in in just a few hours and have it ready to go somewhere. So that's
Amazing,
what was
yeah.
impressive.
Well, hats off to him for
Yeah,
doing
Yeah.
that.
Surviving.
Yeah, survive. Yeah, well, survival is always the first thing, isn't it?
yeah,
It's hard. That's hard. I
yeah.
know. I had my next door neighbour next door that way. he was an ex-naval officer, and one of his things was to say he was in the Falklands War, which is not, but one of his things was to say if anybody talked about stress, he'd go, stress is when you have an exocet being fired at you.
Yeah.
Real stress.
That's real stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just that's a kind of stress. I'll give you that. It's a kind of stress. But yes, that's what he used to say. Straight on stress is having an exit fired at you. Ah, dear. He was a great man, British.
Yes, Arvin. That's what somebody said on the chat. I don't remember that episode, but somebody said on that earlier chat
he did play drums, did he?
That he did play drums on one of the episodes. And,
right.
Okay, we'll have to go and YouTube that one and check it out.
He played with Linda Carter, was a celebrity actors band. Yeah.
So she was singing jazz, Greatvanzinni. She's a jazz singer.
They sang, not really. They sang mostly pop 40 tunes in a nightclub, but they always had put a nightclub bluesy, jazzy edge to a lot of it. And then off and on, they'd just do some straight out sort of. Somewhere around here, I have all the complete copies of them live. They played mostly in the Phoenix area, I believe.
So how good a singer was she?
Very good, very good. Yeah, I think she'd had all that training, singing. And
I was going to say that's quite often the way,
so.
Isn't it? They have singing, dancing, and acting lessons, and it's a bit like Hugh Jackson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, I mean, he can sing and dance and act, can't he? So he does, depending on what he's doing. As he's known here, Hugh Jackson. He's known as here.
Yeah.
But so I mean, he does that, and I think my kids do it as well. My kids do it at a local youth theatre. They do singing, dancing, and acting. The 3 M's.
Yeah. So he got out of that band because of Don Grady from My Three Sons was putting a band together, and Don Grady just went around to different clubs and found musicians he wanted in his band, and hired them up and put together his band that way.
Doing a similar thing, right?
They did even more pop tunes. They were a feel-good band called the Yellow Balloon.
Right.
And,
so this is Don Grady. If you guys, maybe the picture of Don might help people in the chat.
Yeah.
That's Don Grady.
Yeah.
He was the eldest son, wasn't he? He was Rob.
Gosh.
He was Rob. He was the one that went away to college, and there's a episode of him standing there in his college dorm, and he's got the Rolling Stones 5x5 album in his hand.
You know far more than I do.
Wow,
I don't
look
remember.
at that.
Yeah, I couldn't. For some reason, our family didn't watch it that much, so I wasn't that familiar with the show. But
no, I'm not familiar with it at all. I don't think Life Fisher. No, it doesn't ring any bells.
Yeah, and so they did that, and I think Don Grady passed away a couple of years, 3 years ago, maybe.
In 2012, Greatvanzinni.
12. I'm always way off on my years. Wow.
I know, that's the trouble with
flies.
getting older, isn't it? You think it's about 20 minutes ago, and you think, 8 years ago, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the one thing you know about Don Grady? His real name's not Don Grady.
Yeah, it's
Don Luis Agrati.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I knew it was Italian. Yeah.
I love all those things. People. I think Don Grady. That sounds like a perfectly normal name. Of course, he's not born with that name at all.
Yeah.
How did you get? Now, My Three Sons. Was it a comedy show? Was it about dad and 3 sons?
Oh yeah, situation comedy. I think was it Fred McMurray that played the father?
Yes, it was Fred McMurray, and they had an uncle who was the house. He was like the house guest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Ex-Navy guy. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And the only reason why I know that is because they put that on TV here in New Zealand, and I know you guys might find this hard to believe, but for 20 years of my life, we only had one TV channel, and then 10 years of my life, one TV channel in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's the same here. I mean, a bit earlier possibly, but in the 60s, in the UK, there were only 3 channels, probably even 2 for some of it, We had BBC One and BBC Two and ITV. Channel 4 wasn't until 1980 something. So we only got, only in 1980 did we get a fourth channel. Bowled over with choice.
I was born in Walla Walla, Washington. we had no channels. We could kind of get one with rabbit ears from somewhere. Probably Spokane or somewhere, but and once in a while we could pick up some TV, but it was very rare. So, and when we finally moved west of the mountains of the Cascades, then all of a sudden we got all the Portland. There's like three or four Portland stations, So all of a sudden we had a huge selection. So.
Yeah.
And guess what? We've got all these TV channels now, and I don't watch hardly any of them.
That's right. Yeah.
Because 90% of them are just rubbish and junk and crap.
That's right.
My entertainment and news comes from YouTube channels that I choose to watch.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about YouTube, isn't it? You can pick what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are two things about YouTube. One is the interaction that you can have as an audience member. You can be in the chat, and providing it's not too mental, but I went on Rick Beato's the other night and we talked about his Led Zeppelin thing, and he had 5,000 people live. It's like that, so it starts getting a bit tricky, but
that was the one on his songs that had been blocked.
Yeah, that was an interesting.
That was
a very interesting program.
That was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always yes.
So it got unblocked because a friend of his tweeted something on tweet, and someone from Led Zeppelin jumped on and
he said that people tweeted Jimmy Page and Robert Plant and stuff, and that's how he thought it had got unblocked.
I didn't catch that.
I don't think it was one. I think it was lots of people tweeted. Because obviously you just put at Robert Plant, and I don't know what happened to the other end.
He's got 1.5 million followers, so he's famous, Carl. And unlike some of these other guys on this other program that we're talking, and he's famous in a good sense. But what he was making, though, and his argument in that video, guys, what's compelling, because he's saying it's about learning music. It's about passing it on. And people in the chat were saying, how many people have made money because Rick Beato's spoken about them? And he mentioned that fact. He said, well, some of the managers of bands in the 80s, they get it. They don't have a problem. They're quite happy with Simon and Greatvanzinni talking about an 80s band, because it means that, they're going to get something from it. But if you're talking about the Rolling Stones or someone from the 60s, they don't like it.
No, because they all got ripped off in the 60s now. I mean, particularly Led Zeppelin with Peter Grant, that kind of control of, and apparently he was saying, and I think this is true, that Jimmy Page paid for the first two Led Zeppelin albums to be recorded, and then licensed them to Atlantic. So, and I think all the rest of it, I think he owns all of he's got all the master copies and he owns the rights to Led Zeppelin, and they never sold them to Atlantic Records. They licensed the records to them to distribute, but they never ever sold. I mean, one of the things he will have learned in the 60s is, don't sell your assets. It's the classic phrase that you could say about almost anything you've got, isn't it? Don't sell your assets.
Well, he got that also off Keith Richards and Hanging Out with the Stones, because they did the same thing too when they started Rolling Stone Records. They licensed their records to Atlantic, didn't they?
And paid for them themselves, and see, you learn,
smart.
And obviously
smart.
I think that obviously, I would possibly
they got ripped off too,
70s,
didn't they?
Oh. Alan Klein, yes. Alan Klein managed to rip loads of people off, didn't he? Well done. He's the man, and that, I mean, we were talking the other day about the Animals and Mike Jeffries, who started off being the Animals manager and then went off to be Jimi Hendrix's manager and took all of their money, apparently.
Oh, wow.
My learned friends.
Yeah.
No, but Rick's argument's compelling. It's a compelling argument,
The educational argument is, isn't it?
Yeah. He's not saying that I'm ripping anyone off. He's the first guy to say, if I'm taking someone's intellectual property, I'd be the first guy to put my hand up. But
it's not the monetization, is it? It's not the monetization. It's the blocking. It's the
well, what? Okay, he
what
mentioned
do you
one other
think you're
thing where someone went through and they were actually watching his videos and they clipped a piece of him having Randy Rhoads on, and Randy Rhoads, and that was something that he got off the internet.
Well, that's right. But it was Randy Rhoads. The thing about it was Randy Rhoads improvising.
Yes.
It wasn't Randy Rhoads playing a song. It was Randy Rhoads improvising thing. Whatever bit of it, solo or whatever. And it wasn't. How could you block somebody for doing some improvisation? How can that be owned by anybody?
I know.
So I'll tell you what happened to me. I got a copyright claim. I didn't get blocked, but I got a copyright claim.
Yeah, tell us.
Because I played an improvised little jam over a backing track on my Boss E-band.
Yeah.
And somebody else had taken that backing track, recorded over it, and put it up on. Now it's owned by Roland and Boss, right?
Yeah.
But they had taken it, recorded over it, and put it up on CD Baby, and are selling it for 99 cents a track. And CD Baby made a claim saying I was playing their music, and I didn't have a right to, and so I protested it, or whatever you appealed it, saying it's not CD Baby's backing track, and my melody, my jam is totally different than what they had on there. And so here's somebody
was it
stealing.
A set of chords, Greatvanzinni? Basically, we're talking about a set of chords. Okay, yeah.
And chord progressions really aren't copyrightable, so
I didn't know that was the case. So what did they say? I mean, I don't know what I've never done this. I don't know what the process is.
The virus came along.
Do you write an email back to them? Is it a kind of email?
Yeah, it
back
pops up. It pops up in your YouTube studio, and you make the claim, and they tell you that we'll be back to you. You'll hear from us by March 30th. But of course,
my lawyers.
but unfortunately, a virus came along, and I've not heard anything from them at all. So.
But they haven't stolen all your money from it.
And I've had that. Well, I don't have any money involved, but it irritated me that those backing tracks belong to Boss, to Roland Boss, and somebody else is claiming it as their own original material.
Yeah.
Well, I was very careful when I made the channel trailer for our channel. I just did 2 chords with my guitar for 5 seconds. It's just 2 chords.
Yeah. I did a 3-chord, just a blues thing on the backing track, and I got a claim on that one, claiming that somebody owned that,
So what's interesting is this guy's obviously taken all these backing tracks, made a backing track or done something over it so that they can claim copyright. That's probably, and they might be generating a bit of money.
Yeah, at 99 cents a track, it's possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, possibly we might buy them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll
Very cunning.
But YouTube won't tell you exactly. They'll just say it's CD Baby and the name of the song. Mine is called. I have it set up at R&B ballad, and it said you've copied country ballad on CD Baby. So I had to do a search for country ballad and go through everybody who had a song called country ballad.
Of which there are hundreds, aren't there?
Well, I found it, it was within the first 3. And I tapped on it, and of course there I heard the backing track, and I said, oh man, that's the same backing track. So he had just stolen the
Mr. CD Baby. Knock it off.
Yeah, so in my appeal, I said, this isn't theirs to lay claim to. They're in violation of copyright.
If it was Boss, I haven't got a leg to stand on because it was Boss Rhodes.
That's right. I wouldn't have. Yeah,
that's
not
correct.
at all. Yeah. But I think they should know that CD Baby is assisting in other people's fraud, if you will.
Beautifully put. Assisting in other people's. Well, yeah.
I mean, they may not know it. Hopefully they will. But they said they'd be back in touch with me by March 30th. And that's a while back. So
3 weeks later.
Yeah.
I think you should write back saying, I'm still waiting.
Yeah, and as I understand it, YouTube's pretty well closed down, and everything's just running on
the service.
automatic mode. So
Well, you could do all the administration from wherever, don't you? You don't need to be there much to do the server administration
Right.
and things.
Yeah.
It's all be backed up
It's
to other
work from
servers and
home.
things. So it's kind of
It's
so
a
they're
work
all
from home job, wouldn't it?
all the admin people work from home. I mean,
Yeah.
and let's face it, YouTube's an IT company, isn't it? Owned by Google. It's an IT company, so it's kind of. So Sonia says there are a couple of companies that do nothing but file copyright claims and strikes. They get a cut of the funds. They'll be waiting a long time to get a fund from you, Greatvanzinni.
Yeah, I'll need a lot more subscribers and a lot more hours. So. I think we all will.
Yeah.
And you know what these companies are, Sonia? They're probably just a guy in his bedroom somewhere who set up a company, and that's how he's generating his income.
Yeah, I did do a kind of a John Prine memorial video, and I just strummed 2 of his songs, but one of them I hummed along to, and that's the melody, and I understand that. But the copyright strike came from the owners of the copyright in like Malaysia, and that it concerned me. I didn't know if that was really, and of course then he passed away, so I thought about writing. Then I read where his wife and his son are the ones who his puppet. So, and of course, I didn't want to bother them with that. So
no. But on the
other
hand,
one was just
if somebody in Malaysia is claiming on their behalf,
yeah,
you know, not on their and claiming not on their behalf, you know, it's like because they're just claiming. I think that's that should be pointed out.
Yeah.
But it's a very difficult area, isn't it? And of you know all that. You know, musicians getting paid for what they do and copyright claims. I know, you know.
Well,
what's interesting though, Sonia, is that you're mentioning here algorithms, but if you watch Rick Beato's couple of videos, clearly they're not algorithms that have picked up some of the strikes that he's got. They're from people actually sitting down watching. That was
the most interesting. I thought that was the most interesting part of that whole thing was, you know, that it wasn't just all algorithms. So, yeah.
My guess is that it depends on the size of your channel. You know, Greatvanzinni, probably nobody's looking at your channel or indeed mine or anyone else's. What they're looking at, it's, you know, a bot is going through and it's discovered, you know, some certain similarity, which is why it's a bit spurious. I think, you know, whereas Rick, because he's got 1.5 million subscribers, you know, he gets to the point where somebody might start looking at his stuff because he'll get, you know, I mean, that Led Zeppelin video got
parasite, Simon.
Thank you. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. You know that they start looking at you in person then because you're, you know, because it's big and the potentials for you to you know to make lots of money out of and then.
I also thought it was very interesting that he said that it's worse, or some bands are really strict, and then there's some bands that just are very lax, and you can use their materials and
when he did
not be bothered by it.
Was it Tool or one of them? You know, they not only gave him the tracks, but they gave him the rights to do it as well.
Oh,
Radiohead.
Radiohead blocked him and then unblocked him. He tweeted at Tom York and then they unblocked him.
And they reply back saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's a compelling argument what you're making."
Yeah. But the thing that made me laugh the most is, do you know who blocks you? The Grateful Dead.
Isn't that strange that they had all those tapes?
Hilarious, yeah.
Weird.
Well, all those, they had the section, didn't they? All their concerts, but you can go and bootleg their bloody concerts.
Yeah.
Didn't they? Had a section for all of that for people to tape their concerts, and then oh no, you can't put that on YouTube, or we'll block you.
Obviously, it's the Grateful Dead Corporation, isn't it? You know, the lawyers that are behind it now. You know.
Yeah.
You know. I wonder if Bobby's getting any of that money.
One would think not, but
I think he is probably. I'm not sure. There was a good, gosh, I don't remember the name of it, but there was a wonderful documentary on Bob Weir on Netflix about a year
The
ago.
Wonderful World of Bob Weir. It's on Netflix. It's
Is it?
outstanding.
Is it called The
Okay.
Wonderful World of Bob Weir?
Yeah,
Lovely.
yeah,
Okay.
Right. I
Yeah,
could check that
perhaps.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very good.
yeah. He's
Um,
yeah, gosh, he was good looking when he was younger, wasn't he? And they made a point of saying that because he had a line of them.
put that guy up front. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
found
yeah.
really interesting about that program, they were talking about his music, and like he was a rock and roller. Then he realized that Jerry was the guitar player, so he thought, "What am I going to do?" So he went away and he learnt jazz chords, and he started playing all these jazz chords and these jazz scales and sequences to allow Garcia to go out there and do all his jamming. And I'm going, wow. And he's
Wow.
playing a few of these chords. He's a hot guitarist.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the one
He
thing
was-
that amazes me about the Grateful Dead is the Grateful Dead, great guitar players, and they all have their own styles and everything, and yet none of them could really sing very well, could they?
No.
I mean, it's very. You got great instrumental bands and all that, and yet none of them could really sing, could they? They're all not really great singers by its distance.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Yeah, it was a bit, it was almost as if, and probably Greatvanzinni was probably in the middle of it, so he might be able to highlight it a little bit for us. It was more about the music, wasn't it? The actual
yes.
the music, as opposed
Yeah.
to the singing. That's the impression I got, because they'd sing two verses and they would jam for 20 minutes, wouldn't they?
Yes. Yeah. Every time I heard him, you
Get
never
the
knew when
nonsense out of the way.
the tune-up ended and the song started. I mean, they literally would come out and
Well
start
done.
tuning, and it was kind of like an orchestra. And pretty soon, all of a sudden, before you'd know it, you'd realize, oh, we're in a song. We're already in a song. So, yeah, they were interesting. I loved them very early on, and kind of lost track of them.
I got their first
But
album.
you
yeah,
talk
it's really
about
good.
you talk about the harmonies, and I thought somehow they pulled it together, barely, for American Beauty, which was had a lot of harmonies
yeah,
in
a
it.
lot of harmonies and stuff. Yeah,
And it was a little shaky here and there, but
yeah. Oh, it's weird. It's just
pretty
odd,
impressive.
isn't it? That in the great, more than I think, there's a lot of people who've got quirky voices. I'm a fan of all of that. I love Tom Waits and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
I love Tom Waits. I'm the people who can't, it's not opera singing. And I love Bob Dylan. I love Bob Dylan in all his forms. I love, in all the madness that he does, and all, now then I've seen him loads of times in concert and stuff like that. I have no issue with people who don't sing conventionally, kind of thing. But yeah, when it's really quite weak, you do kind of notice.
Oh
That's
yes.
the one thing I've noticed. That they would, Sonny, you're right. Often they would do some good harmonies and stuff like that. It just, I don't know why it struck me, but it did strike me that a band that was so strong instrumentally was really, but they never did anything about it. I mean, hats off to them. It's go, well, we just do what we
So
can
were
do.
no Crosby,
Do it.
Stills, Nash and Young, were they?
Well, yes, Crosby, Stills, they weren't. Yes, but they did. To their credit, can I say to their credit, they didn't do anything about it. They said, well, we'll sing the way we can sing. We'll do what we can do, and we're constant on the instrumentals, and that's what we're going to do. And if hardline, and I take my hat off to them for that. It's like I like, I think those kind of quirks and
they always did a lot of covers. There wasn't all original.
I think all
and
those idiosyncrasies make
yeah,
a band,
do it in
not
their own
break a
style.
band.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
not forget that Jerry Garcia, was a bluegrasser.
Bluegrass,
right,
Before he played the
yeah.
electric guitar, he was
Yeah.
he discovered that protest movement in the early 60s. Arlo Guthrie, and who's that other guy? Pete Seeger. and then
Yeah.
and then wanted to play the banjo. And he's on record saying he a lot of these young guys, they wanted to play authentic American music, and bluegrass to them at that time in 64,
Yeah.
63, 65, 6,
Junk
you know,
bands.
that was authentic. That was
Yeah.
something that,
Yeah.
you know, and if you guys haven't seen the clips, go and see him on YouTube playing the banjo. He's and he's also done a few albums with Gus with Dave Grissom, you know, the
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
mandolinist.
Yeah.
You know, and their
Yeah.
albums are fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm a bluegrasser, by the way. Greatvanzinni. Well,
Okay.
a bluegrass wannabe.
I always
Yeah.
wanted. I would love to be a one. I don't have that flat picking ability to do that. I used to own a banjo though, and I got halfway decent. I didn't get Jerry Garcia decent, but or certainly not Steve Martin. But
That's right. Some of them were in Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Champions. Now that's the name of a band, isn't it? That was pre
Yeah.
some of the Grateful Dead were in it before they formed the Grateful Dead. I like that. I love names like that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And being a bass player, Greatvanzinni, you'd have to take your hats off to who was their bloody bass player?
Phil Lesh.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. So my heroes in my later teens and early 20s, where I always said 2 Jacks and a Phil. And of course, that became a trivia question, and it of course was Jack Bruce and Jack Cassidy, and Phil Lesh.
Yeah,
so,
and Phil Lesh. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
I love Jack Cassidy probably just a pinch more than the. I just am always impressed with his ability to, especially with hot tuna.
Just you tell us why.
It's that ability to kind of ramble around the chord that he does, and he's just always got movement, and it's always in the right place and the right, the right time and all.
Got good feel. He's got a good feel, isn't he, Jack Cassidy? Yeah.
But Phil Lesh was very much the same way also. In the early days, especially, he used to play early on a 6-string, one of those 6-string Fender basses that which would really give him a huge range of stuff to do. So
Fantastic.
I enjoyed all theirs. And Jack, just because he was he was just so raw and kind of I always remember when I heard he had been a jazz player originally. I just thought, what? Are you kidding me? Because he had a roughness to him and kind of just snapped those notes in Cream, and
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the sound is in, that sort of play, getting that kind of quite overdriven sound.
Yeah.
And playing kind of jazzy stuff.
And somewhat of a jam kind of quality.
I'm just going to interrupt and just show a picture. I always loved this version of Jack.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, is that...
Man, that's cool, eh?
Yeah. Boy, I don't remember that. I remember him playing a guild bass, but that one's got all sorts of...
That's a guild.
That's a guild, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember all those knobs. I suspect he had some work done on it. Huh?
Well, that was the thing then, wasn't it? I mean, the thing was, I've heard this a lot. That people in the late 60s, early, they took their 1958. Fender Strat.
Yes.
Kind of, I don't want that.
Let's get rid of those pickups.
Get rid of those pickups and put in, and because it was just an ordinary working man's guitar in 19, Ben Coombs is, got his dad's 67 Telly, with DiMarzio pickups in it.
That's
didn't like the hum.
Yeah.
But, so that's a very good example of
they weren't worth anything, back in the day. I had a 1958 Guild hollow body 12 string acoustic,
Yeah.
and I got it for a steal, and I thought this thing is just going to go up, and it, by the time I sell this, somebody's going to want it, and they'll pay a fortune for it. And of course, by the time I sold it, it was worth a few dollars more. But nobody was really willing to pay that sort of money, even though it was a 58. So
Yeah.
50, yeah, 58, I think.
So, did you see
Just
Hot
gonna-
Turner at all?
A couple of times, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I saw, not that early on, but a little ways down the road, the acoustic. They went to electric hot tuna at some points, and I saw them much later on. And a lot of my friends really liked the electric hot tuna, but I liked them. They were okay, but I prefer the acoustic. I prefer Yorma on his old Martin.
You're my Kalkonen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are. Just if anyone's interested, that's the Fender 6-string bass.
Yes.
62
Yeah.
Fender 6-string
Oh,
bass.
I wanted one so bad.
But yeah, amazing. Like sort of the strap with switch. Has it got some switches? Yeah, it's got kind of switches on it and stuff. I think underneath.
It's
bit
a little bit like a Jaguar or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the headstock, by the way. It's a standard Fender headstock.
Yeah.
As a thing, yeah. But yeah, amazing. Sorry, it's not a brilliant picture.
Yeah, kind of an offset body. Yeah.
There's a famous couple of.
That has a trim.
As a tremolo, yeah, it does. Yeah.
I don't remember that. Wow.
Peter Green played a 6-string bass too on a couple of Fleetwood Mac songs.
A Fender
Who
one,
did?
Andrew.
Yeah.
John McVie. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well, he
Peter
was a
Green.
bass player before he was a guitar player, but he played a couple of bass songs using that 6-string bass too. But I think the one that he played was more. I think it had a Stratocaster kind of type of body. I'm not familiar with the 6-string basses. I only know the P basses and jazz basses.
Interesting you say that, because my memory, until Simon showed that, my memory was that it was more of a Stratocaster shape to it, or something similar.
That's the tremolo arm. 6-string bass with a tremolo arm. Well done.
Yeah, that's definitely Jaguar bridge system.
Yeah, I want nothing. I want nothing to do with that.
As a close up of the
with the
close
heavier
up of the
strings
body.
on it. Yeah,
with switches.
I remember the switches.
Like yeah.
Well, they may have made it in a hardtail version too. I don't know.
What do you know?
Yeah.
Amazing. It's
yeah.
I like the fact you put a tremolo on it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Imagine it.
No thanks.
Yeah, that is a classic. What were they thinking, sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's I think that's really funny myself.
So if it's okay, if I can talk to Sonia here for just a quick minute on, she's interested in my Boss E-band that I use kind of for demos and stuff like that. I would not buy a new one, Sonia, because that technology on the new versions on the JS10 is already 7 years old. And I've been expecting them to upgrade or update it to Wazacraft, Boss, or Katana, or something like that. And
okay, yes, that makes sense.
I think I showed you guys one other time, but
hold on, I'll
just so people know, kind of. Let's see if I can get square with the camera.
So they're going to update that with the Boss.
They should have.
Yes.
They should have updated it a year or two ago, I think. But
okay,
I think it's a worthy product, especially if they spend some time. It's a very small footprint, but I mean, they could go a little bigger even, and it would, it would really be something. So, but it's got lots of. It's basically a Boss GT100 in a tiny box, and it's got a looping thing where you can record over it and then record over it again and again.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
And you can make your own backing tracks and all that kind of. Well, you can't make your own backing tracks.
It's a typical Boss thing.
Yeah.
Lots of functionality.
But last Christmas I played. There was a little Christmas gathering, and I wanted to do some Christmas sort of jazz songs. And I thought, well, I'll just take my guitar and just strum and kind of get by. And a friend said, "Well, wait, you do all those backing tracks. Why don't you make some?" So I made a few backing tracks of Christmas songs, and I output that through a powered speaker, and then just played instrumental Christmas. And man, I could fill a small hall with that. So it's really, I think you could use it as a one-man band kind of thing with backing tracks.
I first became aware of that unit that you've got a couple of years ago. Richie Kotzen, who's a guitarist I follow on social media, he was advertising it. He was a spokesperson for that product, and
I don't remember. Wow.
the tones he was getting out of that. But we never got that here in New Zealand, and I've never seen one in the flesh. I've never seen one in any of the music shops that I've been to. But can I ask you how much did you pay for that, or how much is that worth in US dollars? I suspect it wasn't cheap.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
That was my retirement gift, and it was $400 back in just last October. And the first one, I've got the earlier version, and I quite frankly, this one's supposed to have a subwoofer, so it sounds better, and I can't tell any difference between the two. But I haven't really A/B'd them. But yeah, I would buy used, if I were buying that. Well, when you say that, Andrew, when you mention that, I've never seen one in a store either. Nobody carries them. I had to order this one. I ordered from Sweetwater. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh no, I didn't. It was Amazon because I used all gift cards. That's right. Yeah.
Just going back to the Fender bass, the 6-string bass. I often ask, did some people use those as baritones? And interesting, it does say this is apparently, I think this is the one I showed is possibly one for sale, but it does say that currently it's set up, has light gauge strings in baritone B2B tuning.
Oh, okay.
It's set up as a baritone a bit. It's strung as baritone tuning, but can easily return to bass E2E tuning if desired. But the other thing about it is that it's a dead ringer for the one Jack Bruce played in the Graham Bond organisation.
Oh.
And early period Cream.
Really?
So he played the 6-string Fender. Yeah, that one. One like that.
Yeah.
So yes, it does say. What does it say? It says it's got a tremolo on if you dare. Yeah, a vibrato arm to play with if you dare.
If you dare, amazing, yes, right? That's right. And I wouldn't.
No, but yeah, amazing kind of. 3 switches, obviously 3 single coil pickups, bass and tone and volume control. Don't know what they probably cut. Oh, the switches would cut the pickups in and out, wouldn't they? So
well, if it's like the Jaguars that we've seen over the years, you can get different combinations. It's about, but also, it's about. Aren't they selectors? But they also. Are there any knobs on there, Simon? Can you show? Have you got that picture handy? Is there a tone and?
There's a tone and volume knob.
Tone and volume, yeah.
Okay. Here we go. You can see it clearly on here. You see, so you've got the tone and volumes at the bottom in the normal place.
Yeah, okay.
And then you've got the three pickup selector switches. Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if I don't know. It doesn't say, but I wonder if it does the switches. I wonder if you can have all 3 pickups on, in a sense, like you can't do in a Strat. So can you? Is it just if you put them all down so they're all on? I'm assuming. Do you get all 3 pickups? Which of course you never do in a Strat, do you?
Yeah, I don't.
No, you don't, unless you
not
get
even the
your
5
solder iron and fiddle around with it.
Hey, soldering iron.
I had a Jaguar years ago, and I never did figure the switches out. This is a nightmare. But I remember one was made if you were playing rhythm, and then it was kind of almost like a boost or something that you could hit. And
Yeah. Yeah. There's something. Yeah. There's a few little fiddly things going on. You're correct.
yeah,
Um, I remember years ago talking to a guy who was a Kurt Cobain nut, and he was trying to tell me about it. And yeah, and look, I'm one of these guys. Volume, tone, two
That's me.
pickups.
that's me.
I can understand that.
What guitar is that? Is that?
So this is my Epiphone
Oh, okay.
ES355 Pro, and I just
Okay, at the angle, it looked like it had a smaller body. I thought like maybe a 339 or something. But
no.
Okay.
It's my cheap version of the Gibson one, but I did pull out the standard pickups in there and put some tone riders in there. Made a difference.
Ah, and that's the one you showed the other day on your
Yeah,
gear. Yeah.
Made a big difference. There was so what's Sonia putting on here? She's got a comment here. There was a single JS on eBay for under $100. The rest were over 230. All wow. Shit, so they're not cheap secondhand.
Well, not cheap. 300 quid
Wow.
new. You buy from Anderson's for 300 quid. Pretty much.
Yeah, 230. Wow, that just seems high for the JS8. JS8's the older version, which. Oh god.
This is the JS10. Sorry.
Yeah, the new one's JS10, but new. That came
Newish.
out 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's got speakers on it.
It does. It has speakers and a small subwoofer. Yeah.
So how big is it? Is it kind of foot across, 2 feet? Is it kind of boogie box size? Sorry,
about a foot.
Hold on, Greatvanzinni.
Okay, yeah.
Can you hold that a little bit closer to the camera?
You bet.
Okay.
Come closer.
I don't know if these I don't know about these cameras.
Oh wow.
It has a whole menu system, and down here I can't read it, but one thing is for all your effects.
Yeah, amp, tuner, and
amplifiers.
effects.
Yeah.
Wow.
Built-in tuner. And it has all the Boss tuners from
See if you
about
can, Andrew, see if you
about
can
7
get
years
this.
ago.
I've got a photograph off Anderson's.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah.
So it's got at the bottom. These 3 buttons at the bottom have amp, tuner, and effects on them.
Yeah.
Then it's got menus and play.
Well, the Botsky is good because I've got the Waza ear headphones, and on the app you can access all their different amp and also effect settings. And the Van Halen setting that I can get through my ear Waza, which is like the harmonist, it's bloody, it's fucking amazing.
Is it? Is it close? Is it close to
Well, look, for a long time, I was really skeptical about amp modeling, and effects modeling. I was one of these guys here, tubes, baby, tubes, valves. Give me tubes, give me valves, and crank it up. But I have to tell you, and we've spoken about this before. I think a couple of times, the 3 of us. The amp modeling stuff that's available now, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. The newer stuff is especially. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to suggest that this is at all up to the level of the new stuff like a Helix or.
No.
Well, it's a Boss GT100 in a small
box. Yeah.
In a small box, and that's 10-year-old technology, basically.
But you're able to do. Obviously, you can plug a mic into it and a guitar.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
It has 2 channels
and an aux thing. So you can plug in something to play in a backing track if you haven't loaded it on, and you can sing and play through it.
Yes.
And record.
And record.
And record one single track at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, for 300 quid, you can. It's like almost like a home studio thing.
Can you sync it to the internet?
I'm sorry, what?
can you sync that your boss unit to the internet to like a website for backing tracks or anything like that?
I don't know if you can. I think you can. I think there's it's not, on Boss you sync your pedals to the Tone Central
Yeah,
library,
that's
and I
correct.
think this has its own sort of little separate thing, but I don't, and I think it's for updates, which I've never done, and I think it's for downloading tracks
Wow.
to the SD card also, but
Let's have a look.
And
I'm
Sonia
not
wants to get
sure.
one. Obviously, she's keen to get one.
I don't. I mean, I just use a little
Yeah.
thumb drive and have that on my computer. Of course, yeah. My cost is kind of. I do backing tracks on band in a box and make my own sometimes, but it comes with like 200 or 300 backing jam tracks, which are very simple little, and every type from metal to blues to jazz to rock, and every genre there is, it'll have 6 or 7 different tracks. Surf. I think it's only got about 3 or 4 surf.
So,
Yeah, it's got
what
a
do you think
USB
about?
computer port on the back. It has got a USB on the back, so you can attach it to whatever. That's interesting.
What do you think about music festivals? Not music festivals, music shows over in the States, like NAMM, which is a big deal. Do you think you're going to get something like that scale, or will they be regional shows with the coronavirus outbreak? You got any opinion on that, Greatvanzinni?
I mean, so much of everything has been canceled, but I'm just, we have, the town I worked in has a summer park series, and they bring in some pretty big names for, I think it's 6 or 7 weeks every summer. And I
Wow.
just looked it up. They've not been able to contract, I don't think, with anybody. They haven't released any names, and sometimes they don't till 1st of May anyway, so that's not unusual.
No.
But they haven't canceled it yet, so I'm impressed. And their statement is, we hope we're going to be able to do it anyway by June.
When is it, Greatvanzinni? When is it?
It usually starts the first. It's on Thursday nights for. It's called River Rhythms in Albany, Oregon, and on Thursday nights, and then and it's bigger name acts, sometimes bigger name acts from some years back. And I saw Foghat there. We were talking about that a while back.
Foghat.
A couple, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. But I've seen other big names too that were
out of the remnants of Savoy brain. Oh, that's what I know about Foghat.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get anything for a long time. I think in America
I think it'll be canceled.
They're going to close a lot of those things down. Simon's not going to be playing any gigs for a while.
That's true.
Well, yeah, this one in particular is in a very small park that holds about 5,000 people, and they don't regulate. It's free, and they don't regulate it. And so when there gets to be 6,000, then it's really spreading out, and it's right on the riverfront, and your shoulder.
That's a lot of people in a confined area, isn't it?
Yeah. And unless this is completely gone, I won't go.
No,
I'll stand down the street and listen.
Open your window.
Yeah. So, and then we have a huge blues fest right at the same time. Starts right around the 1st of July. And we have a big blues fest in Portland every year. That's like the biggest blues fest this side of the Mississippi, is what they always say. So, and it's about 50. It runs for 4 or 5 days, depending on when the 4th of July is. So, and they have 50,000 people a day. So.
What's that big one that you guys have in the UK, Simon?
Sorry?
The big festival you guys have in the UK?
Well, Glastonbury.
Yeah. So there'll be no.
That's been cancelled. It's been cancelled. Yeah. Quite rightly. They took the decision early, and I think it's that it's right that they took that decision. And I don't think any of the other summer festivals are on either. I think they've all cancelled them basically. I think if you're getting the Rolling Stones to come and play, you're cancelling them 6 months in advance. You're not cancelling them in 2 weeks because with Glastonbury got 200,000 people. In a confined space. I mean, God, if because this is still going to be going on. Then it won't have disappeared by then. You get 200,000 people together. In a confined space, man alive, that's a breeding ground for for mayhem and potentially a lot of infection there. It only take one, it go around it like bloody wildfire. But Arvin says no Guelph Rib Fest either. I'm not sure what Guelph Rib Fest is. Arvin sounds like a food fest, doesn't it?
I got to know what that is.
Canadian thing.
Canadian rib sounds like barbecuing. Garvin, is it barbecuing? Is it?
Sounds great.
Yes, that does sound good, doesn't it? Almost more of a disaster than Glastonbury.
Yeah, I mean, all of our cities have I forget what they call it, but a taste of, and then the city name, a taste of Salem, a taste of Portland, and that's where they bring in live music and have all the local restaurants set up booths so you can sample food from a lot of the local food,
Yeah. What the specialism of Oregon is, kind of. What is the specialism of Oregon?
That must be.
Greatvanzinni.
Yeah, there's probably, I don't know, 20, 30 cities that are big enough to do that. That's got to be. Have to cancel that. So.
Yeah. Well, given what I was just watching before we came on, it seemed to be, I was watching the thing of the beaches of Florida, filled with thousands of people.
That's just bizarre.
Yeah, you wouldn't catching me down there for all the tea in bloody China.
Yeah.
But,
I haven't heard anything about our beaches here in Oregon that anybody's. We've had, we had really nice weather for the last week, about 23, 24 degrees.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And today it turned back to winter. But and I haven't heard that there's been any problems at our beaches here in the last week or so. So that's good.
Yeah.
Although because the schools are, I see a lot of high school kids that are all grouped up together, appearing to go to one another's house. Play some PlayStation or something. I don't know, but I mean.
Yeah, that's not really isolating, is it?
Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm hoping they're not getting lax on it, but.
Well, you mean the problem is that they were never that hard line about it.
That's right.
Think you're invincible, think it's not going to happen to you. Therefore, I'm like all those people who went to the Florida on the spring break. There must have been an element of we're young, we're invincible, we're going to carry on. We're not going to let the coronavirus beat us, kind of. So off you go, and then the country gets infected because they all join together in Florida. Somebody gets infected, takes it home with them. Thanks for that.
Well, I don't. I was going to say they get on planes and fly all over and take it on, but I don't know if there's any planes, so I'm not sure. So Arvin,
yes, barbecue ribs.
You're saying that it was the Ribs Fest was already a prime source of infection. Is that what am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Correct. We're already a dangerous place before the coronavirus.
Yeah. Just not for coronavirus. That's a new one on the menu. Yes, yeah. Things you can catch at
food poisoning.
Guelph Rib Festival. Yeah, food poisoning. Any other fight of flu, and now new to the area, coronavirus.
Kubrick, how are you?
Kubrick lover. Good morning. How you doing? That's funny.
Talking about what are we talking about, gentlemen?
Ribs,
barbecued ribs. Welcome to Rib Fest.
We've got off a little here today.
Well, that's right. Yeah, like we're always on. Yes. I tell you what I've done. I've got something. I was listening to on YouTube. I was listening to There's 4 parts to a Van Morrison interview where one of his musicians interviews him.
Oh,
it's really good. It's called. No Time to Stop Now, or whatever that is. Anyway, and he talked quite a lot. Particularly, I'm interested in his early life in Belfast, which was obviously a very musical life. You know, he had people playing. Not only, you know, his dad had this massive record collection. Not only did he have that going on, he had lots of his parents' friends, you know, other people he knew who come round and they would play American folk, American blues,
Oh,
and also Irish folk as well. So he had all this, you know, this stuff going on in his childhood, which kind of, you know, and he, you know, but very much, interestingly, you know, very much a blues thing, you know, which, as he points out, you know, and skiffle, you know, skiffle, which of course is American folk blues by another name, but you know, very much influenced by that. But the he was saying that, you know, obviously they then got into, you know, they got bands together. They all had bands, you know, and he learned to play the saxophone. And he was talking about when they went to Germany, which I thought was quite interesting. When they were in Germany, they went, you know, they sort of got this contract to go to Germany, kind of, and they played from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Oh my
7 nights a
gosh.
week, and matinee performances. He said they did 53 sets a week.
Oh
You know.
my gosh.
And he said, but yes, yeah. So they obviously had, you know, is it whatever it was, 7 sets a night kind of thing. And it, yeah, 7 sets a night they played. And
On
he
the
said,
other hand, you get good.
you get, well, it's, you know, it's the it's the 10,000 hour argument. You know, it's like the Beatles. You know, the Beatles got good by doing the similar thing.
Yeah.
And but he was saying that you know, lots of, it's mainly GIs. You know, American GIs who obviously had access to, you know, American rock and roll. And he said that people would come up and ask for you know, ask for songs. And if they didn't know it, they'd get them to sing it. They go, "How does it go?" They get them to sing it. You know, they would get people. You know, the American GIs would come up, sing the song, and then they'd kind of learn the song from what these guys sang,
Learn on
which I
the
think is
spot.
really funny. Learn on the spot, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then obviously went around and sort of refined it a bit, but yeah, worked out, you know, how to play. But that's how they learned quite a lot of their
How's
stuff.
the song go?
And
Get
he-
in there, kitten, and right, shake those bottling pants. Or
Yes,
something.
absolutely. Yeah.
And then they'll be going,
Yes, absolutely. You know, but yeah, they would
Yeah,
come up
Gosh.
and it was they. The other thing they did to keep themselves interested was they swapped instruments a lot. So they get, you know, so obviously to stop yourself going bonkers, you know, you'd be going, all right, in this set, well, you play some drums, I'll play some bass, you can play the guitar, you know. So they swap round the instruments a lot. So you get to learn all the other instruments a bit, you know. So Van would play drums a bit, and somebody else would play bass, you know, on some of the songs and stuff. Yeah, so there's kind of tremendous kind of to keep yourself, you know, interested or alive or whatever.
be a British thing.
You know,
Because the Beatles did the same thing too, and the Rolling Stones. They would
swap round, would they? Yeah.
yeah, they would just jump on. Keith Richards would jump on the drums and try and do a drum song.
Really? Yeah.
Wow.
This is
I
why
didn't
Paul
know that.
McCartney can play the drums, kind of thing, can't he? Paul McCartney can play the drums.
So, what was the band that he was in that was doing this? Was this the band that went on to be them, or was it just
No, it's just you know, not them, but musicians that you know, that were around in Belfast, basically.
okay?
And also, seemingly, there was a sort of Scottish kind of, you know, they toured Scotland a bit, and they got sort of Scottish musicians. Yeah, there was a kind of link between Belfast and Scotland. I mean, which is, you know, the Stranraer, whatever it is, ferry. But yeah, it was a kind of link, and they toured around Scotland and things, and they played Scottish clubs and stuff more than they did kind of English clubs. Really, there's kind of more of an association with that. And he said, Van Morrison, he said that one of the GIs in his club taught him how to play his guitar with his thumb. Because before he played, not with a play, he played with his fingers, but you know, that. But then he said the guy taught him how to play with his thumb, which obviously gave it a different, you know, tonal thing. Yeah, so he learned all this, you know. But it just sounds to me like, yeah, it was in a sense, crazier than we kind of, you know, they're not crazier than I'd read before. I hadn't realised that they did kind of things like swapping the, you know, they'd have songs where they all swapped instruments and somebody played something else and, you know, did some other stuff and, you know, and got into that. And I think that's when the soul thing came in as well. You know,
I think that's kind of a little bit of a lost art. I remember in the old days here, we'd see a nightclub act or something, and there was always somebody who would run around and take a different instrument, or the piano player would pick up and do a trumpet solo. They were kind of multi-skilled, and you mentioned that. I haven't seen that sort of thing for quite a while now.
No, that's right. People are very focused on one instrument, aren't they?
One instrument, yeah.
I mean, and I suppose I don't know whether Clapton plays anything else besides the guitar. Does he play anything else besides the guitar? I don't think he does. Jeff Beck, I'm sure Jeff Beck doesn't.
Yeah.
Never seen Jeff Beck play anything else. Why does he need to? And I don't know about. I don't think Jimmy Page plays anything else. I mean, you know, the interestingly, the multi-instrumentalist in Led Zeppelin is John Paul Jones.
Yep.
You know, who played keyboards, bass, mandolin. You know, what have you got? Oh well, you know, anything. Well, John Paul Jones can play that. You know, recorder. You know, for Stairway, didn't he? He played all those things.
Cool.
Because he could play them all. Yeah, that kind of multi-instrumentalist thing. Interesting that, you know, that. But yeah, you're right. Nowadays, you don't see many people who just, you know, go off and just start playing something else, do they? Other instruments and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I know even, you know, I mean, yeah, you're right, because even some people like Bob Dylan that plays the piano and the guitar. Bruce Springsteen plays the piano and the guitar. Quite a lot of his stuff is, you know, done on. So, yes, thinking about it.
I suppose if we went to Vegas or something, you would probably see more of that or something as part of the show or something. But
possibly, yeah. But you don't. It's interesting. You don't. You're right in that you don't associate people these days, since, you know, these guys are from the 60s and 70s. You know, from the 80s, I don't associate. I mean, Eddie Van Halen can play the piano, can't he? He's a good piano player.
Oh,
he can play keyboards.
Okay.
Yeah. Andrew will tell us more about it. But when he comes back, my memory, yes, he can. They learned the piano. You know, so in a sense, he's part of the old school, Eddie Van Halen. But the newer guys, I don't associate anybody in the 80s and the whatever from. Did you hear that? Sorry, Andrew. Did you hear that? We were talking about guitar people being multi-instrumentalists. Like Bob Dylan can play the piano, Bruce Springsteen can play. Eddie Van Halen can play the piano, can't he? He plays the piano.
Yeah, Eddie Van Halen. Keith Richards is a very good piano player.
See? Yeah.
Paul McCartney, very good piano player.
Yeah. Paul McCartney can play lots of things. He can play the guitar, the bass, drums, keyboard. You know, he can play. Yeah. It's quite interesting that we were saying that modern musicians, and I've no, don't seem to be. Although I can think of one actually. But most musicians don't seem to be multi-instrumentalists in the same way. Do you think that's true? You know, if I take...
I don't know, Simon, because I don't know a lot about a lot of modern...
musicians, no.
I'm going to say that probably a lot of them probably can't play instruments anyway, you know, without some kind of producer, you know, doing the work for them, you know.
You're suggesting that Pro Tools is involved in cutting and pasting individual notes to.
But I would agree with your general statement. I would say, you know, that you know, and I don't want to come across though as this bloody old fart putting, you know,
too late
modern music down. Even though
it's not. It's an observation. Even though it's true, yeah. No,
Pro Tools.
It's an observation, isn't it? It's an interesting observation. Kubrick never makes a good point that Mick Jagger can play the piano, he can play the guitar, harmonica.
Yep.
You know, you're absolutely It's just
perhaps Pro Tools is the new Wrecking Crew. No?
Just wrecking.
That's a
wrecking
good point,
music.
I think what happened though in the 50s, 60s, and 70s with a lot of these young guys, there weren't a lot of distractions around. So they chose music early on as a pathway, career pathway, especially if they were working class. You know, it was going to be something that was going to get them out of their current situation. I think a lot of young people today, if they do take up music or they're interested in music, there's a lot of distractions. Social media, for example. I can take my dog for a walk and I see people, even men my age, walking their dogs and they've got their phones and they're just forever on their phones.
Doing something, Candy Crush or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's
you
not
know,
music,
so,
yeah.
So I think Keith Richards and Eric Clapton and
I think that's true.
who's the Irish guy that you were talking about?
Van Morrison.
Van Morrison.
Van Morrison. I think they were less distracted guys. I think and music was consuming for them after all because they were
we had no internet to distract us or no video games, so.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that we talked about this before the other day. That thing about most houses in lots of them in the 40s and 50s had pianos. They had pianos.
Yeah.
It's an aspirational thing. Even in working class, they had pianos because all the pubs had pianos in the 40s and 50s. Greatvanzinni, it's that great the Cockney tradition of the Cockney knees up. But everyone, they all have pianos, and also that means that even the working class, aspirational working class was you've got a piano for your kids to learn piano.
Somewhere my dad scored a baby grand. And that's what we had as a young kid until we moved to the west side, and then it was going to be very costly to move it, so we ended up selling it. But
oh dear, yes,
and my grandparents always had a Hammond organ, so yeah.
Oh, wow.
Similar thing, yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah. Almost just as problematic to move, I would have thought. But but it's an aspirational thing. You teach your kids how to play piano, proper music. And as I say, the particular thing, going down the pub and playing, Cockney knees ups, and because that was the entertainment in the pub. Somebody got on the piano and played, I don't know, Knees Up Mother Brown or something, or It's a Long Way to Tipperary, or whatever those things are. I think that
here in New Zealand it was the guitar. Here in New Zealand, if you went to a party, I grew
guitar,
up.
Did you?
Yeah, I grew up, going to my parents' parties with friends and families, whether it was Christmas parties or birthday parties or unveilings or funerals. It was always a guitar and drinking and people singing. It was never about listening to the music. It was about singing. And
it's about being a part of it.
Yeah.
Are people doing that these days? Jeepers, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what young people do when they go out and hang out. Are they doing what? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I know all my family has subscriptions to I'm not sure what, but Spotify and Pandora and that. And Amazon, and that's their music source, So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my. I have two teenage daughters. But I have an older one as well. But she's 20. But they all basically Spotify, absolutely Spotify, and the radio to some extent as well. They listen to radio for their favourites and things, but mainly it's Spotify. They play stuff off Spotify. The interesting thing is that, and YouTube, so if we're in the car, they're quite often, plug in their phone into the aux lead and kind of play stuff. What's interesting is that they go through a phase. My 14-year-old, no, Saskia's nearly 16. She's starting to play. She'll play something modern, and then it will be something from the 50s. She'll play a girl group from the 50s kind of thing. And you go, where'd you get that from? And of course they're coming up as being, as suggestions on things. So she just plays them, So she's already getting the idea that she has no view of a musical timeline. We all got a view of the musical timeline, haven't we? So we start with Elvis down here. And we move forward. We get the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, then we get into the 70s, Led Zeppelin. We got an idea. They have no view of a timeline of pop music at all. There are just things they like, and it doesn't matter. It could be something from the 50s, 60s, she'd play a Dusty Springfield song, and then she'd play a Billie Eilish song. There's no difference.
How interesting.
Just the things that they like, and no concept of the as I say, the timeline that we all know and understand, and because we've lived through most of it. We all have a view of the timeline and what goes on in it. They don't have a view of that. They don't care about it. They just go, I like that Beatles song, and I like that Billie Eilish song, and I like this, and I don't like it. And they, it goes hand in hand with that individual song thing that they do. We're all album guys.
And I'm not good at that at all, because people who say the new thing with younger people is a mixtape with lots of different stuff on it, and I've just never been able to do that.
Which
sort
is
of
of
thing.
course
I want to
not
listen to
new.
this person for this long. Now I'll listen to that person for that. I've always been kind of stuck that way. So
yeah, I mean the mixtape thing is interesting because it's not new. We used to make mixtapes in the 80s.
Well,
you'd make tapes of the things you like, and then you would give them to other people. Andrew, did you do this? Did you do this? Is this a thing in New Zealand?
I make my own
40
mixtapes, but I never liked getting mixtapes because I was scared that I liked one song, and if I liked one song, I wanted to know the whole song on the album. So I would always prefer to have the album. I would buy the album. If Simon said, check out this new Van Halen song, and I'd say, oh, okay, so I'd listen to it, but I would try and go and get the album. But I made my own mixes. Don't get me wrong, because
made the car.
You would have
tapes for the car. The things that I had in my record collection. It was a bit like, I don't know about you, but I found it was like you had, trying to fit, like, if I start off with this, that's a strong opener. It's a bit like radio, radio playlist planning. You sit there and you go, right, I start off with this, and then I go from that to that, and then what do I do next? What should I put on next? I just spend quite a lot of time thinking about, the order of the things and stuff like that. That's quite fun.
Pop 40 radio in the 60s was pretty much a big, huge mix tape.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really where it comes from, doesn't it? It comes from, you're making a sort of, if you like, your own radio station. So you're making a list of songs that, that in your ideal radio station world, they would play them in this order. Kind of, or not in a disorder, but but you're cutting out the DJ and just doing it yourself. But no, it's interesting. It's I remember it being part of a kind of youth culture thing where you would, if you liked a girl or something, you'd make a tape for her and give it to her, kind of thing. See if she liked it. And stuff like that. That would go on, quite a lot. And I think that in a sense, what they do now is a continuation of that. But of course, there's no tape. It's just, it's on Spotify. They have Spotify playlists, or they have, I mean, I have Spotify playlists. I've got a Spotify playlist, that has all the things I like on it. And some of it is complete albums. Some of it is just, individual songs I wanted to learn or whatever, And I quite often, if I'm cooking or something, will put it on shuffle, So, Nick Cave will be followed by Drive-By Truckers. Will be followed by Leonard Cohen or something,
So on Spotify, you can actually develop playlists. Then
you can create your own playlist.
Do your own.
Oh,
do your own. So which is essentially a mixtape.
It's what I didn't like about. It's what I didn't like about Pandora. I subscribed to Pandora for a couple of years and finally got rid of it. I would look for an instrumental guitarist, and if you wanted to look for Barney Kessel or some sort of jazz guitarist, and it would give you some of that music, but then it would recognize that, well, wait a minute, the Ventures are instrumentalist. And it would give you instrumental guitar work or music, but it wasn't from the right genre, so it would get pretty mixed up pretty quick. So
I mean, the Spotify allows you to customize what you do. I think it's better if you actually subscribe, but I don't subscribe. I've had a Spotify account. I don't use it enough to subscribe really, but so I know that but yeah, you can pick out the things you want, put them in your own playlist. So if you wanted an instrumental guitar thing, you just spend a bit of time going, well, I'll have Barney Kessel, but not the Venturers, and I'll have Basil Montgomery, Charlie Christian, whatever. Put all these things in, and then you have a playlist called, Greatvanzinni's jazz guitar players, and that you go in there and play them all.
Cool.
The great thing about Spotify now, though, is that they're putting a lot of these records on that we couldn't get for a long, long time. It's just phenomenal, the back catalogue that's coming on. I had a friend of mine send me a link to a couple of these Japanese blues bands in 1968. And I've been listening to these Japanese guys, and they're just sounding phenomenal. And a Latin American band, and a French, and these guys were inspired by the Rolling Stones and these British blues guys at the same time. It's phenomenal. And again, all these jazz albums. If you're a jazz lover too, all the back catalogue of these jazz albums that I'd never be able to afford on my record collection. And how Carl was on the show a couple of days ago, Simon, talking about a Van Morrison record or something being like 12, that looked like something ridiculous, a first cut album. So, if you're a record collector, it's a great thing, because people collect things. But if you're a music lover, Spotify's great. Are you going to get the same quality of music coming through on Spotify? We've had this discussion before. No, you're not. But
yeah, I've got to get that then. I've got to look into that. Yeah.
It's worth having a look.
Too much. I spend too much time listening to it.
Oh, Andrew, have you changed the settings on your sound at all?
What's that?
I don't know. You haven't changed the settings on your sound at all. It's like you sound quite sort of
choppy.
Choppy, yeah, a bit choppy and a bit. That's right. Just wondering. I don't know, worry about. Must be that engineer bloke didn't do anything to your internet. So now you've turned yourself off.
Yeah, now we're not getting you at all.
Now we're not getting you at all.
Yeah, I know that. I've turned myself off.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
There, that sounds good right there. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's just probably a bit of internet bounce. That's what happens. Anyway.
Yeah, it seems to be all acting very strangely off and on. So.
Well, it's not strange, is it, because everyone's on it. Everyone has to stay at home. The thing that everybody does is they all get on the internet, streaming stuff, to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Probably, people are staying up late doing stuff. I mean, it's inevitable that that the quality of things. I know that I did read somewhere that YouTube are considering throttling the quality of their stuff. I don't know whether they did it or not. But,
okay.
So I think
it's interesting that Arvin's making a point here about Japanese rockabilly band.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
And I'll tell you another thing too that's really big in Japan. It's bluegrass. The American soldiers, the American soldiers from after World War II going to Japan, and so these a whole subgenre of Japanese bluegrasses, and man, they're good. They are.
Wow, I had no idea.
Picking their banjos,
taking it up and playing it. Yeah.
In fact, we had a bluegrass festival here. We have one called Kiwi Grass every year, but not last year. The year before, some Japanese cats came and played, and holy cow, they can smoke, man.
Yeah, of course. The other person who just smokes at the banjo is Steve Martin, isn't it? The actor, and comedian. He's a fantastic banjo player.
Banjo player, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and you discovered that comparatively recently. Oh, blimey.
You haven't spoken about jazz, so you'll have to come back on next week. And it's 1:43, and
once you've been on Greatvanzinni, you're now captured into our crazy world of.
It's 7:45, so I'm going to, and I'm getting really hungry, gentlemen.
He's hungry. Lightweight, honestly, could bring a sandwich on. Yeah, cool. No worries.
Do you want to come back on Greatvanzinni? Is that okay?
Would be fine. Yeah, would be fine.
Awesome. And I promise we won't talk about coronavirus at the start of the show. So, and I won't talk about guitars, and we'll just say, Greatvanzinni, can you finish talking about your journey in jazz fusion?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Jazz fusion.
But we'll be moving away from fusion though. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Remember, Greatvanzinni, never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Simon, when are you back to
check.
work?
Me?
Yeah,
I went
you're
back
at
to work.
work, aren't you?
I went back last Thursday. I'm not back. I'm not work today because it's Sunday. But I was at work on Thursday and Friday last week. Yeah, I had 2 days last week, and I had a couple of days off over Easter.
I can't do anything tomorrow because tomorrow is Monday. What about Wednesday New Zealand time in a couple of days? Greatvanzinni, will you be up for
Oh, yeah.
up for an
That
hour or
would
so?
be fine.
In a couple of days?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be
How does
fine.
that
Yeah.
sound? Does that work with you, Simon, for an hour or so? How does that
no
work?
worries. Yeah. I got. I can do it's Earth Day on Wednesday, and let me ask. So yeah, I could do Wednesday. Wednesday morning is fine. Yeah. No worries.
An hour and a half.
Yeah,
and
hour and a half. Yeah.
And we'll go back
Yeah.
to. We'll see how we get on with Greatvanzinni's journey on Wednesday. But it's
The
always
journey of jazz.
We're almost up to date now. So yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's always good to get a North American perspective on a lot of things. I think we've got our bases covered. The arse end of the world, the UK, and North America.
Yeah.
The Kubrick lover. I said Earth Day, not my birthday, which is fantastic. But yeah, my birthday's in July. Earth Day, not birthday. That's wonderful.
Awesome. It's been good chat with you guys.
Oh, guys, yeah, thanks, Greatvanzinni. Fantastic
very
to have
good.
you on.
Thank you.
Really cool.
Appreciate it.
It's fun.
And
well,
you'll be back in a couple of days. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
On Wednesday,
That's
yeah.
good.
See you on Wednesday morning my time. Yes, very late.
Nothing to do
better
here.
to do.
Well,
12
I'm
naps in the day.
I'm mindful you've got work, Simon. I don't have work until probably Thursday if we go back to work.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. But it's my work is fine. I normally get up at 6:30 anyway, 6:45. Yeah, it's a good night. So if we're doing from 7 till 8:30, that's fine. I'm supposed to be at work at 8:30, but let's not. I'm very lucky, and my job doesn't specify clocking in and clocking out and all of that nonsense.
Old
I just
farts
do
like
my
us
work.
don't sleep in like we used to anyway.
No, just get up, wander about, make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Have a cigar. No, I don't do that.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, cool, guys.
Sign off.
I'll see you on Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds
Bye,
very
and
good.
bye, everyone in the chat. Hang on, you'll say goodbye. Arvin, take care. Kubrick lover, thanks for joining in, mate.
Yes.
And Sonia too.
Sonia, if you're still here.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Vintage Sounds was lurking about earlier on. Yeah, and Juan as well. So thank you very much to all of you for joining in. Nice to see you. As I say, stay safe and well.
Okay.
Yes,
Crazy world.
you too. We'll see you again.
Don't hang up, guys.
Okay.